Gerry playing this deck. I'm actually surprised that he's doing this. I know he's been dabbling and, he tried Green-Black Devotion in the Invitational, didn't work out that great for him. He's been trying a lot of Nykthos decks that he's been chronicling in his articles in the premium side of Star City Games. He's been trying Mono Black as well, but he's settled on Jund Monsters. He's playing against Thomas Poole on the left. Thomas Poole, I actually know because he is one of the people who owns Inked Playmats, the playmat company. So I actually know both the people who are doing battle in this match, as Thompson's going to start here with a Stomping Ground, go down to 18, and play a Elvish Mystic to start our day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Elvish Mystic draws it's two different kind of worlds. When the Jund Monsters deck has Elvish Mystic, it's like, they're just a turn ahead.
You see Thompson's hand right now. He's being Thoughtseized by Poole. There is a Temple of Abandon, an Abrupt Decay, another Mystic, and Mizium Mortars, and a Courser of Crufix. I think you could argue that Crufix is probably the most powerful card. You see Thompson has taken a mulligan to 6 here.
Yeah, it really just depends. If for whatever reason Thomas wants to protect like an Underworld Connections from an Abrupt Decay, he could conceivably just want to go that route and then rely on a removal spell to kill the Courser. It really just depends on the texture of Poole's hand. But definitely the Courser is the most important card.
That's the one that's going to go to the bin. Poole's going to go down to 18 as well. We'll see if he has a land to play. And as we make our way through the first early turns of the game here, I will ask you about Black-Green Devotion as opposed to Mono Black or Black-White or Black-Red. We see all different styles and flavors of this deck. How do you like the version that splashes for Decay and other green cards?
Yeah, I like a fair bit. I think that it's tough. It keeps feeling like Black-Green should be the best of them, but people haven't found the right mix yet. They haven't found the right, the right combination to kind of take the top spot among Mono Black decks.
You saw Thompson attack for 1, play a Scry land, play another Mystic here, opening himself up a little bit to Bioblight. 2 copies here in Poole's deck. Doesn't look like, well, I was going to say it didn't look like he had one, but he was just taking his time considering his play. Does Bioblight for the 2 for 1 there, and going to follow up here with an Overgrown Tomb tap and pass the turn back over to Thompson. Does he have another land? He does. It's another Temple of Abandon, but one thing Gerry currently is missing is black mana. Yeah.
I think it's going to be real interesting to see what the implications of the new M15 lands are for these mana bases, If you have having Llanowar Waste available for the black-green deck is another black-green dual land.
Maybe that's better than Overgrown Tomb, potentially?
Well, I don't know. You sure do use your life as a resource a lot in that deck.
This is true. Mana Confluence as well. Gerry just picked up one of those. Can't forget about that card. Mana's going to be pretty good moving forward. Here's a Gorkland Rampager. Doesn't really stand up very well against Desecration Demon, which we do know. As Poole's going to untap and take a draw here. 6/6 is going to be pretty tough, as Thompson's last 2 cards right now are Abrupt Decay and Mizium Mortars.
Yeah, he's only got 2 actual hard answers to the Demon in his entire deck. Just 2 ultimate prices in the main anyway. Other than that, he has to just try to race it, outclass it, or be willing to throw a couple cards at it.
Poole, after the attack for 6, is going to play Temple of Malady. Top card's going to go to the bottom. Here's 4 more mana. Here's another Desecration Demon. This game could be over very, very quickly here, as Thompson's going to draw a copy of Courser of Crufix. He's going to pick up his permanent. So Thomas Poole is going to win game number 1 here over Gerry Thompson. Black-Green Devotion up a game over Jund Monsters, and it doesn't take long for Black-Green to close games out.
No. I mean, the Demon hits in pretty big chunks, and just quite frankly, the Demon's the best card against Jund. It just outclasses almost everything they do.
We're going to turn our attention to the sideboards here. Thompson's reaching for his. You've got his deck list in front of you, so I'll let you begin there.
So he's got Mistcutter Hydra, Rakdos' Return, Golgari Charm, Duress, Doomblade, Chandra's Pyromancer, Nylea Disciple, and Putrefy. The most important thing is getting a little bit of removal in here. The 2 Putrefys give him a few outs to the Desecration Demon, but beyond that, I think that he's going to try to go after Poole's hand a little bit. Rakdos' Return gives him a way to fight back against a hand full of removal. But for the most part, just little minor tweaks. I mean, he had kind of not a lot of gas that game, and a single Thoughtseize took him apart, but if he just draws a little bit smoother of a mix of cards, I think he should be able to put up a better fight once he has more answers to the Demon.
On Poole's side, we're looking at 3 Doomblade, 3 Duress, 3 copies of Devour Flesh, 3 Mistcutter Hydra, 2 Golgari Charm, and then a Pithing Needle. Gotta love Doomblade here against the big green-red creature deck, so I expect those to come in. Devour Flesh, I don't expect those to come in just because, it can be picked off by Courser. There's Elvish Mystic, there's Sylvan Caryatid as well. I could see the one of Pithing Needle coming in because you have to expect that your opponent does have Xenagos and Domri, and Needle does a nice job against both those Planeswalkers. Yeah, I mean, the Needle just has quite a bit of application, quite a bit of uses, I guess, here. I mean, you never know, you might end up hitting a Chandra, or you might end up even in a pinch having to name Scavenging Ooze or Mutavault or Palakranos. But for the most part, the Pithing Needle and the Doomblades are specifically for this matchup to hit the Planeswalkers and the big fatties. while these two players do finish shuffling up, one thing we want to bring, of course, to your attention is we've got our player leaderboard here for Season 3. Joe Lissette, after last weekend making the top 8 in the standard portion, getting 25th in Legacy. He was behind Alex Bertensini. Now he's ahead, 126 Open Series points. You see the trophies next to Van Meter, Ross, and Bronduin. The reason for that, of course, is they're already qualified for our Players' Championship at the end of the year, but we leave them on the leaderboard because it's important for buys for future invitationals, which all of these gentlemen will have 2 moving forward because they're within our top 16 players. But for Lissette, who is from the California area, he made the drive to Vegas last week, had a really good weekend. Now he's made the flight up here to Portland. We figured he would do that since the West Coast tournament, and this is a huge chance for him to expand his lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting points at one of these events that a lot of the people that you're right up against, that you're right competing with, can't make it to. You got to seize these opportunities because you know they're going to be at all the East Coast tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, you see all the names that are out here on the first and second page. These are a lot of East Coast players. The Open Series is on the East Coast and the Midwest a lot, so it's more difficult, I would say, for a West Coast player to really put up a great finish, but that just shows how well Joe has been doing, is that when he does have the opportunity to play, he's been putting up finishes, and he's got the opportunity to really expand his lead this weekend if he can take advantage of it.
Yeah, and qualifying for the end of the year, that end of the year Players' Championship, a very, very, very big game. There's never really been anything exactly like that, like in terms of non-WotC tournaments that are at that kind of a scale, that kind of prize for so few players, Yeah,
I think people are just really getting excited about it. Once you start seeing people qualify, it's like, okay, I see some people are doing it. I think that could be me. I could be Chris Van Meter, go to every tournament, and it's tough to top 8 as many tournaments as Chris did, but you grind it out, you get the points, and you see what happens. You got to give yourself a shot, at the very least.
All right, so going into game 2, Gerry Thompson will be on the play. What is he really looking for besides a good mix,
I mean, the last hand seemed like it was a little bit too reactive, and, that just shows the power of Thoughtseize, right? It just really blew up his hand. I think we see a turn 2 Courser that game. Well, he would need a land that comes in and play untapped, but, Courser was basically his game plan there, right? He has a Courser, he has a Mortars and Abrupt Decay to be reactive against certain spells and certain decks. However, what he played against and how things lined up, those cards had no impact on the game. Decay never got cast, Mortars never got cast, Desecration Demon just took things down, so it was pretty simple there for Poole to get the job done. I agree with you, he still is looking for a mix, still wants a Mana Accelerant too, be it a Mystic or a Sylvan Caryatid, and just get out the gate like he did last game.
Now, I think that something that's very worth noting in this matchup is that Thomas Poole is playing a variation of Black-Green with Courser of Prefix in lieu of Nightveil Spectre or Lifebane Zombies.
Yep.
Not a single Lifebane Zombie in a sideboard, which is traditionally the card that most rips apart Jund monsters,
I'm a little surprised by that. Lifebane Zombie has been pretty oppressive. It's really a huge headache to play against. Its power level is undeniable. Courser, don't get me wrong, it's a very, very good card.
Sure,
It does affect the mana base a little bit. You're going to find 4 Forest here in the main deck. Normally we'll see 8 Swamps, a bunch of dual lands, no Forest, maybe 1 or 2 if people are splashing Scavenging Ooze, but now we see 4 Forest, you got 8 Swamps, only 1 Golgari Guildgate, then 4 Temple of Malady and 4 Overgrown Tombs. So we have seen this version a little bit before the splash here again. 4 Courser of Crewfix, 2 copies of Scavenging Ooze, there's 1 Putrefy in the main, 1 Charm, 1 Vraska, so a heavier green splash here from Thomas.
And the format lately has been so heavily revolving around black decks and red aggro, with still a fair bit of blue devotion and blue-white control. That this might be just a calculated gamble, figuring, well, who even plays monsters anymore? Who even plays Jund monsters? Maybe we can trim a little bit in that, and now it's coming back to haunt him. Well, haunt him loosely, I guess. He demolished him game 1.
Yeah, he is up a game, right? I guess he doesn't have to change too much. The strategy seems to be working just fine. He gives Thompson the thumbs up. He's happy with his hand as Gerry's going to start off here with an Overgrown Tomb tapped, as Poole didn't take 1 mulligan. He didn't take 2. He went down to 4 cards. So.
Yeah, I think this is a loose use of the term happy, but...
Poole going to pick up a Swamp here. In comes Mutavault.
You could do a lot worse.
Yeah, this is true. Gerry's got to be happy that he's not putting anything on the board. Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Perhaps we have a game of Magic in front of us right now.
Another loose use of the term happy.
Looks like Poole drew a Forest for the turn. You can see a Desecration Demon in his hand. There's also a Putrefy hanging out as well. He's going to start by attacking here for 2. Thompson's going to go down to 16.
Wow. Poole is 1 land away from going off.
Yeah, Desecration Demon is pretty much all it takes. Thompson with the Mutavault before passing the turn back here, so still nothing to do here. It does have double green if he had a Courser. It feels like he has some sort of removal spell here, as there's Golgari Guildgate, and Poole not interested in attacking into that mana. So here's an Elvish Mystic a little late to the party. Thompson will pass the turn back over to Poole yet again. It feels like maybe an ultimate price is hanging out there. And here's a Putrefy to take care of the Mystic.
The tough thing about ultimate price, though, can't hit the Mutavault.
Yep.
But hitting the Demon would be A1.
There's also a Pack Rat in Pool's hand right now. I wonder what threat he wants to lead out with here. You see him organizing the mana. Looks like, all right, he wants to go for 4. He's going to play Desecration Demon. Thompson gives him the thumbs up, and there is the price. So that'll take care of what slayed Gerry in the first game. You saw Gerry draw a copy of Mizium Mortar still without a 4th land, and everything he has in his hand are big, powerful spells. They're just expensive.
Yeah, I mean, the Jund Monsters deck is definitely not the deck that wants to stumble on mana whatsoever. But the good news is that if both players, if things stall out a little while with neither player putting much aggression down, that'll start to favor Gerry eventually.
Looks like Mutavault's coming into the red zone here. Thompson going to take 2 more. He goes down to 14. Will Pool deploy that Pack Rat in his hand?
So what do you think of the swinging in there instead of, wow, he doesn't even play the Pack Rat. Interesting.
I think in that situation, if I'm Thomas, I'm just playing Pack Rat with 3 mana up with the ability to make another one. Because I don't really know what I'm too scared of in this situation where my opponent really doesn't have very much, and you can put Jund Monsters on a certain set of cards. And realistically, I mean, Gerry's going to have 2 answers to keep Pack Rats off the table, right?
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting, though, is that by not playing the Pack Rat, now Gerry is looking at discarding to hand size instead of using a removal spell on a Pack Rat. So,
yeah, he is discarding.
Probably just a very effective play on Pool's part.
Kranos going to go to the bin. Thought seizes the draw, so maybe we'll see what Gerry's working with here in a moment. One thing about Gerry's deck right now, too, is for Jund Monsters, a lot of the time we have seen lists that have 23 lands and then 8 mana accelerants in Sylvan Caryatid and Mystics. Gerry actually has a 24th land this weekend, but he's not been able to find it. You see Pool going to fire off the Thought Siege. You've got a Mizium Mortar, a Stormbreath Dragon, a Chandra Pyromaster, along with a Putrefy, a Xenagos, another copy of Pool of Kranos, and then another Stormbreath Dragon. So his hand, unsurprisingly, is loaded when you're discarding. That makes Thought Seizing actually pretty tough, I think.
Yeah. The good thing, though, is getting a chance to know exactly what you're up against here, I mean, if he takes the Putrefy, Gerry's left with basically nothing but plays that require him to tap out if he draws a land, when it untaps. Beyond that, it's just a question of if Pool thinks that, Xenagos or Chandra or Palakranos is particularly stronger against his hand than any of the other cards.
So right now, Thomas's hand, he's got a Pack Rat, he's got a Vraska, and there's a mystery card hanging out there. Let's assume, for the sake of this example, that it's a removal spell. What are you Thought Seizing in this situation? Your plan is probably Pack Rat, and then Vraska gets to answer some of these cards.
Yeah, and it looks like he has Hero's Downfall as well. So the tough thing is not really having the mana to use Pack Rat this turn. He's going to have to slow play it.
Yeah. And I kind of like taking Putrefy, but just like you said, he kind of has to slow play it, right? He can't play Pack Rat now, because if he does, it just gets taken down by Mortars. I think even if Gerry does draw a land, I think he would just Mortars this to get it off the table.
But that's definitely not the greatest use of Pack Rat, but at least it would cost him his turn.
Yep. Mutavault's going to come in, and he's going to keep holding the Pack Rat. So Thompson is down to 12, and he's looking to draw a land, and he finally did. And most importantly here for Gerry is it's an untapped one. He draws just a basic forest.
So the default play here is probably Xenagos, just because it can leave a little bit of value behind. He's got to anticipate that whatever he plays is going to get destroyed.
And the Reveler does come into play, so we'll have a Satyr token out here in a moment for you guys. 2/2, red-green creature with haste is actually going to come into the red zone. I'm a little surprised by that, just with Thomas's propensity to attack with Mutavaults, but Gerry may not care, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, attacking the Xenagos doesn't really matter, and if Pool spends his mana just to try to do damage to Gerry at this point, Gerry's going to advance his board quite a bit more. He'd love nothing more than to try to lure Pool into this situation. The most likely scenario, of course, is the Pool just Vraska Xenagos, in which case the Satyr wouldn't have been able to block, and it would have just been lost damage. But, I mean, does Gerry know that? It's hard to say, I mean, Hero's Downfall obviously could also put in some work against Xenagos, but it looks like Gerry is not afraid, and I don't blame him. I mean, when Gerry's got as many cards as he does, being down 4 life points is really not that scary.
Pool's draw for the turn was a copy of Pithing Needle. So again, looking at a Pithing Needle, a Vraska, Hero's Downfall, and a Pack Rat, and trying to figure out how he wants to use these cards to try to close out this game before Thompson draws lands and catches up. starts deploying those very powerful spells that he does have in his hand. It looks like Poole reaching for a single mana right now, considering casting the Needle, I imagine, on Xenagos, but this is a pretty rough road ahead here for Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, this is the classic mana screw beats mana flood.
Happens quite a bit.
Yeah, if you're stumbling on mana a little bit and you actually draw out of it, you end up with so much gas in your hand.
Needle does take down Xenagos. And again, we're going to see if Poole wants to play Pack Rat or not. Looks like he's going to go reaching for Mutavault, coming across for 2. Thompson's going to go down to 10. But again, I think Thompson is perfectly okay with that exchange, because if he wasn't, he wouldn't have attacked with the Stater token.
See, I'm not even sure I would keep holding the Pack Rat, just because all of his cards are so good right now. There's nothing he even wants to be discarding. What if you put out the Pack Rat? Because if Thompson uses the Mortars, it costs him a turn. At least you think, you got a free turn instead of...
No, he's getting very aggressive now. So Mutavault's going to come in. Going to play Sylvan Caryatid. I imagine there's another Satyr token out there in just a moment, too. I don't think that Gerry forgot to use Xenagos. I will say that.
No, the Pithing Needle.
Oh, you're right. Excuse me. Thank you. No, thank
you.
I apologize.
So I definitely agree. I don't think he did.
I don't think he forgot. Yes, I agree with you as well.
So we've got quite a number of options from Poole, who's loaded with spot removal, but Thompson wisely playing around the all spot removal hand. I mean, you got to know that he's going to be bringing in all these Doomblades and whatnot. So sculpting a game plan where you can actually try to sidestep that, developing your mana, slow playing your big creature threats, leading with the Planeswalker. I think at this spot the big question is how Thompson wants to try to make some forward progress, because he's got to deal with this Pack Rat, but the Pack Rat just being able to make another Pack Rat right now is kind of a wild card. It throws a wrench in things, because if he just tries to sit here, each time Poole Doomblades a creature, his Pack Rats grow. Once they get up to about 4/4, 5/5, then it'll be real tough if Thompson's Mortars are already gone.
We're going to the skies right now. Stormbreath Dragon coming in the air, Satyr token coming on the ground. And this is going to force Poole to make a bit of a decision here on what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's never fun to have to cast your spells instead of just activate Pack Rat all the time. But I think he's too far behind at this point. He's going to have to just make the concession to, removing the dragon.
This feels like a turn where he probably has to Heroes Down for the Dragon. I mean, again, I agree with you. I don't think that he wants to do that, but I feel like this might be a turn where he has to do that.
Yeah, I mean, besides, he knows that Thompson has a Mortars, and even though Thompson doesn't quite have enough mana to overload it yet, he's not far. And it's just too risky to try to invest everything into the Pack Rat.
Well, we're discarding Vraska.
Bold.
So it looks like Poole just took the damage, and I was just going to make a 2/2 rat and pass the turn back here. I'm trying to figure out if there's a lethal attack that's available. If you discard a card to Pack Rat, activate Mutavault, attack, those rats will be 4/4s.
I mean, that looks like 10,
right?
Wow.
Is he...
Yeah, very good
Gerry
play by Poole.
Is Gerry just daring him to not see this?
We didn't see it. Wow. Poole, very disciplined.
He's going to
very aware.
He's going to discard Abrupt Decay. He's going to activate Mutavault, and he's going to... Wow!
Well played by Poole.
All right, he's going to attack here for 10 and get the job done. So Thomas Poole's going to win this match over Gerry Thompson. Mind you, that's a mulligan to 4.
On the mulligan to 4.
And Black Green Devotion takes down Jund Monsters.
Absolutely. Very disciplined play by Poole, and just, keeping his focus on what was important. I mean, Thompson was so confident on the attack that it's not clear we wouldn't have bit. I mean, that was well played by Poole.